Hey everybody, I'm ex-TV producer Jennifer Moore, and in this episode of ex-TV Newsers, we have a gentleman who literally just got out of TV news, so he's fresh out of the newsroom. This is Nathan Lyttle. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
We're doing all right over here. All right. Well, Nathan, can you tell people what kind of jobs have you had at TV stations over the years?
Well, I started in TV News 2012 as an assignment editor at WYMT in Hazard, Kentucky. And then about 2.5 years into that, I moved into the digital executive producer role, and I stayed through that until this past week.
Oh, wonderful. And for people who don't know what an assignment editor does or like a web producer, what do those roles entail?
Assignment editor, it was explained to me as the heartbeat of the newsroom. That's how it was explained to me, but really it's basically you're the first you're the one that answers the phones when things are going nuts. You're there in the newsroom the duration of the day. You're kind of contacting reporters, seeing what's going on, sometimes on stuff that you don't have a reporter on, maybe just checking on court cases or whatever. You're making those calls. So it's a lot of the day-to-day grind of the newsroom. And with that, at WYMT, the assignment editor role came. You also would edit newscasts a little bit. You would post stories to the website, keep the social media updated, and that's how I kind of grew into the digital executive producer role, where then I was I was kind of instilling the vision into our website and our digital platforms, and really, just working all day on the biggest stories, some of the, even the smaller ones too, but in the way news is right now. In the past, when I started, there were some stories that were really big, and we got a hold of them. We're like, well, we can't. And I've got a little 2-year-old here, and she's excited. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Mark.
Hello. Hi, YouTube. Oh.
But even when I just started, there were in 2012. There was a lot of like we had a big story. It'd be, well, let's wait until 6 o'clock. Because we gotta break this on the news. But that changed. We were kind of really behind on that a little bit, because now it's website first, social media first, get that stuff out there. So that's what I was in charge of, really getting the information out as quick as possible.
And I do want to say, I think there's this misconception that big news doesn't happen in like small places. And I found that's not true at all, like not in the least bit. Sometimes you get the biggest stories, the craziest stories in places you've never heard of before, or places that people aren't really familiar with. Would you say that's kind of true?
Yeah, I mean, in Hazard, it's a small, rural southeastern Kentucky. We covered, from the biggest part of eastern Kentucky into portions of Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. But there are so many just big stories that would just blow your mind. We had one that, if you follow a lot of national news, that just recently kind of came to a head. We had a Social Security lawyer who had a practice in Floyd County that defrauded the government of about $500 million or so. So Eric C. Kahn, and then he escaped, and he was found at a Pizza Hut in South America. They found him.
Wait, there are Pizza Huts in South America?
Evidently.
Wow.
Yeah. So kind of nuts stuff happens all the time. I was never bored.
No, it is not. You guys also had Kim Davis in Kentucky, and I remember your station did a story a few years ago about, this was like one of the craziest videos I've seen of this guy. I think he was in his underwear or he was naked, and he ran through Walmart and like poured milk over his head. And I could not, it was one of the most insane cell phone videos I think I've seen.
Yes, I remember that vividly.
I don't think anyone will ever forget that guy. I wonder what he's doing now. Probably. Maybe he's drinking some milk. Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, that was, he was screaming that he was on fire, running through Walmart.
I know. I mean, clearly it was a stunt, but it was, you know what, it got her attention. So I guess it sort of worked.
Absolutely.
Well, originally, Nathan, why did you decide to get into the TV news business?
Well, where I worked in southeastern Kentucky, really, we were kind of wedged in the middle of a bunch of in the TV news business, which is called DMAs or markets. We had you got the Tri Cities, uh, Huntington, Lexington, and Knoxville, and WYMT is its own little deal that kind of services all of those areas. And depending where you're at in Eastern Kentucky, you know, if you're in Harlan County, you will get Knoxville Television. That's the DMA you're in. So it was a station like WYMT was really important to keep people informed. You know, who live in the state that want to stay informed about the things in their state because they didn't have that option. So WYMT was kind of really like a family oriented. It's just really embedded in the community, and I always wanted to work there. And in 2012, I found the opportunity. I knew I was friends with a producer who's now the assistant news director, and I was friends with him. And he said they had an opening. He thought I'd be able to fill it. I was not qualified. I had no background other than I did do some freelancing as a sports writer, and I found my way into WYMT. And I just thought if there's a place for me there, I'm going to find some way to fit in there because you from the community standpoint, you see it on TV, you see it on Facebook, and I just wanted to be a part of it. And man, it was a heck of a roller coaster, a heck of 5.5 years there, but it was fun all in all. But I kind of just I really didn't have a TV background, but I wanted to be a part of that, and I found the opportunity.
It's definitely one of those jobs where, like, pretty much all of my training was on the job. College, they could teach you some things, but they can't prepare you. College cannot prepare you for working in a newsroom, which brings me to my next question. In your opinion, what's the best part about working in news?
The best part about working in news is number one, uh, everyone that's there is really passionate about it. They really have a sense, you know, they just want to be a part of it. No one really. You do have a few people that pop in here and there that they just want to be on TV, but they get weeded out pretty fast.
Yeah, those people do not last long for sure.
Yeah, when things start grinding, those people get weeded out pretty fast. But most people there, they're so passionate about what they want to do. They care about the people, the stories they want to tell, and it's just I've had the ability to work with so many just great people that I wouldn't have come in contact with otherwise. I mean, people that come from hundreds of miles away to work in a rural southeastern Kentucky and be a part of our community. So that was awesome. And plus, you just meet so many wonderful people and characters that you wouldn't meet anywhere else. And some of them are just, you know, the grind, the surprisingness. That's not even a word. I apologize to all you journalists out there. Just the unpredictability, the unpredictability of what's going to go on from day to day. It's really exciting.
That is true. And on the flip side, what's the worst thing about working in this business?
There, you know, with good comes bad. To me, it's a thankless job sometimes. There's a lot that goes on. There's so much work that goes on into it, and it's a business that I think people on the outside don't really I didn't understand it until I got into it. And you know, the fake news stuff that's going on nowadays, it really makes it hard on people that want to do the right thing in journalism, and not just, you know, there is some fake news out there, but the people that call fake news anything that they don't anything that they don't, that makes it so hard on us, because I know so many people try so hard in this business.
No, and there are so many people who like you said want to do the right thing, and they work so hard, and yet, you know, yeah, you're right, it can be thankless. And working on the assignment desk, I'm sure you've dealt with your share of the crazy calls.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Plenty
And
of crazy.
For people who don't know what the crazy call is, can you kind of elaborate? Because I do, and that's why I wanted to talk to someone. I want to talk to people with assignment desk experience, because the crazy calls are a very big part of your day.
Yeah, and there's crazy calls. There's people that get upset like on election night, that they're not satisfied with the coverage that went to a particular candidate or whatever. There was one night when it was election night, and we covered 20 plus counties in 4 different states, and with about 10 reporters or so, you know, probably on election night. And they're all stretched really thin. And there was one race where a guy called in wanting to know why we didn't talk about this judge executive that had won, and was demanding to talk to our news director and general manager, who were on the anchor desk, demanding to talk to them. Just stuff like that. My last week there, I took a guy that was demanding that we put his ex-girlfriend on the news because she stole some money.
Uh-oh.
And I'm using very colorful language, wonderful things. I got a call once from a guy that this was in 2012, my first year, 2012, December 2012, when everybody thought the world was going to end.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Wow. Oh, yeah. Man.
He had swore up and down that local government officials were building bunkers in Harlan County, and they knew that the world was coming to an end, and they were hiding it from us. Anything you can imagine. I've good, the bad. We get people. There was one time someone called demanding I do something on that we covered something on a custody dispute between a husband and wife over a child, and said it was a shame that we wouldn't do it. And I'm like, I just, it is something that we can't really get in the middle.
And I don't think people understand the news is not the place to air out your dirty laundry. It's or they'll call with a story, but they don't want to be on camera. Like, they'll want to tell you about it. But then if it sounds legitimate and you say, hey, will you be willing to meet with a reporter? They're like, no, I don't want to be on TV. It's like, well, if you want the TV story, you have to be on TV. That's a part of it. But
I don't want my name in this. Don't mention my name. And I understand why, people, kind of want the coverage, but they don't want to be the one that goes up there and sheds light on something that they think is some injustice or whatever.
So yeah, we were talking about the crazy calls, and I don't think people quite understand sometimes. And I was amazed at how many people would call in like literally just drunk. Like, they would just be like it would be 6 a.m. or something, and these people just sound totally sloshed. I did not get that. Did you? Did you ever get calls like that?
I don't know that I've ever, I've had some, you think sometimes. I don't know that I've ever talked to anyone that was nuts, but I'll tell you that I'd worked overnight one night for something. I forget what it was. And something we get a lot of school closing calls. And man, people that call the TV station to ask if school is canceled, I love you, but please stop.
Please stop. Check the website, or like watch for the crawl on the bottom of the screen, something like that. But yeah, it can get a little bit intense. And
there was times we had school closing calls at like 2 and 3 a.m. And I'm like, the people that that have the authority to cancel your school are asleep.
They're not awake at 2 a.m., folks. Or the people that would call for lotto numbers or like sports scores. And you'd be like, I'm just Googling. Well, the sad part was too, is sometimes they would ask, like, I would say, hey, you know what? I can't look this up right now, but I would just be Googling it. And the people would be like, I don't have the internet. So that, I guess that would explain why they were calling, I guess. But I don't know. Sometimes it can get a little crazy.
Usually I just bite the bullet. I would just bite the bullet and Google it for them.
Like, it's 24 to 3, or whatever.
I had someone call one day to ask me the results from WrestleMania.
Were you able to find that information for them?
I'm a pro wrestling guy. I knew.
You just knew, and that would be something I would have to, like, sports and I were not, I was never a sports gal. And what is there anything you want people to know about the TV news business that maybe people have the wrong idea about, or they just don't know? Things that people don't know about this business.
Yeah, it's just, man, that the people on that are writing the stories and reporting the stories and reading them, man, they work so hard. And they're I have never in all my legitimate news organizations, and you can tell the difference between a legitimate news organization and some kind of blogger that's just that's got a specific agenda. That they do everything they can to get both sides of the stories, the facts, and provide that to everyone, and not inject their opinions into it. They try so hard, but sometimes the truth is that something is black or something is white, and even if you provide both sides of it, uh, that's not enough for some people. Some people just don't like that, and they accuse organizations of being biased or whatever. But every person I come in contact with, and the folks at WYMT, we worked so hard, many hours, way over the 40 hours a week that comes with the work week, to make sure we were providing the best coverage possible, the most fair, the most balanced coverage. And sometimes people don't notice that.
No, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And is there? You mentioned you remember a few big stories from your time there. Is there one story in particular off the top of your head that had a really big impact on you?
There is one that stands out to me, and it's really not in the grand scheme of things. The stories that went national, stories that went viral. It's probably not one that was on the top of any charts. But I can remember, and this is local news. I can remember getting a call from my reporter. We had sent someone out to a house fire, and it was in Knott County, Kentucky, and there was two boys. I think they were twins that had died in this house fire,
Oh.
and young boys, and they, and just with everything you're doing, it's everything. It's everything to keep all the stories updated throughout the day. And I was really busy, and I hadn't had time to think. And I remember the reporter calling in, give me the information that put the ages of the boys on there, and they're like, "Well, the coroner said that we don't want to put the names on there yet. They've got a sister that's at someone else's house, and she got out of the house, and she doesn't know what happened yet."
Oh.
And it just kind of hit me. All of and I'm sitting there trying to, fighting back tears. Well, I'm fighting back tears very poorly, writing this story, and just thinking that, there's a lot of times people think that you got the people that report the news, and then you've got the news, but we're all invested in this, especially local news and communities. And I know specifically that one, my heart was just really torn for this family, and we've got to make some tough calls sometimes, because people want to know what's going on, if someone's hurt or someone's killed in something. And I don't know how many of those tough calls I've made to families that are grieving, and you ask them some information, or if they want to do an interview to set it up, and those are stories like that with me. They always just took a toll. They always just chipped away at me a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I've talked to a few people now, and I think most of us have a really tough time covering stories about bad things happening to children. That's got to be the worst.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
and I've got. We saw my little 2-year-old earlier. As a father, that makes it really really tough on me. Just because I've got skin in the game in life when it comes to that stuff, and thinking, what if that was my daughter? What if this was my family? I don't know how many times we we got the scanner going 24/7 in the newsroom, and you hear oh, there's a car crash on Highway 15, and I'm thinking, oh well, it's about 3:30. My wife's probably left school and she drives Highway 15 on the way home. Uh, you know, that amount of time when you really don't know what's going on. If it could be someone you know, or you a fatal crash, a fire or something, someone's dead, and you're like, well, is it someone that I know? Do I know these people? And as someone who's worked in the community, lived in the community where I was covering, those were always just that much more. Just that much bigger a deal than me. A lot of people get jaded to it. They just hear,
Yeah.
oh, fire, oh, a fatal car crash, and they get in news mode. But being in the community that I lived in and grew up my entire life, I was never jaded to it. It always hit me.
No, and I think that's a good quality to retain, is to not get over it, not get desensitized. So thank you for sharing that with us. And all right, so on a lighter note, let's talk about the viral stories, like the stories that blow up, the stories that everybody watches. Are there things in common that you've noticed about viral stories, like the attributes they tend to have?
Yeah, and as a digital executive producer, someone who's looking at the website and traffic and what happens, that's something that you always want to you always want to be aware of. Unfortunately, sometimes uh, catching lightning in a bottle with that stuff can be hard. Sometimes it happens by a stroke of luck. You just post something, you don't even know that it's that big a deal, and it goes nuts. But a lot of viral stories, I think uh, they're visual. Uh, you, like the video of the guy in Walmart you mentioned, that was a viral story for us. Something that you can watch, something that you can see, or it can be something that kind of tugs on your heartstrings, like these inspirational sports stories, things like that. There's probably the most viral story I ever posted at WYMT, and I knew that it was going. It was just one of those things. I knew it was going viral when it happened, and we had these big fires in the Smoky Mountain National Park in Tennessee, and it was that was a national story. And I was just scrolling through my feed list, seeing all of it, and I saw that one of my friends shared a post from someone from Dollywood
Mhm.
who had found um, one a lone page of the Bible that had just survived one of these fires and just been blown in the wind. And the verse actually on the page referenced a fire, referenced fire. So when I saw that, immediately I was like, I need to get up with this guy and get permission to use his picture and his story. And he's like, sure, that's fine. I'm going to frame it. Go ahead and do it. And it was instantaneous. When I posted it, people started sharing it. And really, viral stories depend on things that someone is going to share. There's a lot of stories a lot of stories that we posted. I wouldn't call them viral, but they were solid stories about, crime stories or whatever else that I knew were good for several thousand views on our website, but they were kind of limited in their scope. Like only people in Pike County, Kentucky would care about this, so they're going to share this. Viral stories have to have some kind of something about them that appeals to a lot of people.
No, that's so true. And that's a good way to put it. It's like, if you see a story and if you immediately think, yes, I would share this on Facebook, yes, I would tweet this out, then that's a good indicator that has some viral potential to it. That's so true. All right. And for the folks watching, I'm sure you've dealt with on the desk a lot of people looking to get media attention or get media coverage. If you were coming up with some sort of guide for media relations, what kind of content would you put in there?
I mean, no, just be media friendly. If you're looking for media coverage, don't bash the media when they don't when they don't give you coverage. The Be helpful. If you're looking to, I know something I always I always wanted to stress to where like local school systems and our police organizations is if you're wanting some media coverage or something, do something that's kind of helpful. Police that would give us surveillance footage or pictures or whatever we needed, but they would like shoot it off of take their phone and shoot it off of off a TV or something. Man, that always killed me. And I wanted to have a seminar for them on how to be a little more helpful with that. But schools, a lot of media, a lot of times, uh, you know, news organizations are just stretched thin, and they need some. They don't have enough bodies to cover what you want them to cover. So if there's a school out there, and I'm actually getting into going to start working for a school soon. We're working in a school soon, and if you've got an art show or something that you're wanting to get covered, um, if they can't send someone there, do a VOSOP for them. Take some video, get a sound bite from from a from a student or someone that the news organization can use and let them know, hey, this is from us, and build a reputation with them like that, the old fashioned way, doing something good for someone, and then maybe uh, they can pass that information along for you.
No, those are really great suggestions, and I think those are very simple things that organizations can do to help get more media coverage or help develop a better relationship. Like for instance, and I don't think people realize how location dependent news crews are too. Like the closer it is to the station, the better of a chance you might have to get it covered. The farther of a drive it is, the harder it is. So that's a good suggestion if they are kind of far out there, or if news crews can't get there, there's no reason you can't shoot some video yourself, shoot an interview, and email it to them. And that's the thing, making it easy for newsrooms is going to also help you. It's really going to help your chances of being covered or having something appear in the newscast. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so obviously we're speaking to the YouTube crowd here, and a lot of YouTubers are maybe trying to get noticed by media outlets or maybe get picked up by even like HuffPost or, Mashable or whatnot. What kind of advice would you have for YouTubers if they want to try to get noticed by these media outlets?
For YouTubers, the big deal for me, and this is the same things that I stressed to my reporters and stuff in the news industry who are writing stories. I mean, make sure your stuff's compelling. Don't if you've got a compelling interview in your story, take that short snippet, post that to Facebook, and say, man, this is what we've got. See the rest of it here. Get the things out there that are most important. The best things that you've got, because a lot of people don't. We've been going here for about 30 minutes or so. When is the last time someone really sat down at a computer and watch something for 30 minutes at a time? It doesn't happen a lot. We're a society that does stuff really fast. So if you've got some good stuff, I mean, put that out on Facebook. Their algorithm, their video that's posted natively does a lot better than a YouTube video or a link anyway. So post that to Facebook. Facebook was the biggest traffic driver for our organization at WYMT. It was the number one referral that we had. So I always stress people to go there for that. Get people's attention. Headlines. If you're posting a link that's got a headline, make sure the headline's catchy, but don't do the clickbait stuff. People don't like that, and Facebook's starting to penalize for that. And pretty soon, the clickbaiters are going to be social medias. I think they're going to try to. Most of the social media giants are going to try to wipe those guys out.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think a lot of people understand this whole posting natively to social media platforms, like posting like YouTube. Your YouTube link on Facebook is not going to get as many eyeballs on it as if you upload a video to Facebook. Like for this interview, I would probably, maybe cut out like the best of, get like a little highlight reel, share that. But yeah, like I wouldn't share this entire, 30-minute interview on Facebook. It's just, because you need to kind of help people out and pull out, like you were saying, the most compelling elements to share with people. So that's a good suggestion coming from a web executive producer. So thank you for that. All right. And for the people like you were a few years ago who are considering a career in TV news, what kind of advice would you have for them today?
Well, for the people in TV news, I mean, find the things that you are good at and knock them out of the park. And the things that you're not good at, get better at them, because you're going to need to do a little bit of everything. The we're Everything's moving towards kind of one man bands, the MMJs. When I started at WYMT, we really, if we wanted to go live, we had to send someone, and we had to send a SAT truck with an editor, and it was a big deal. Now we can put everything in someone's backpack, and they can be ready to go. So you have to be ready to do a little bit of everything. But with anything, make sure you're passionate about it and do what you want to do and go for it, because nothing is more frustrating than not wanting to get up and go to work every day. And it can get that way if you allow yourself to get in that position, it can happen.
Yeah. And as a web executive producer, a lot of people might just be looking at traditional TV stations, but there's all these online outlets now that offer opportunity as well. Digital video is becoming huge. So that's something that I think, like I tell people even now is, hey, don't overlook these new media outlets either, because they can offer you some opportunity for growth as well. And like you were saying, all these stations are going with more of even in big markets, you have to shoot your own stuff now. So you can't just be like up there talking head. You got to be able to do some stuff too. You need to be able to know how to shoot. You need to be able to know how to edit and definitely write. So that all good thoughts. All right. So you just left the business literally a few days ago. Can you kind of walk me through how you decided to make that decision?
Well, yeah, and I just mentioned, make sure you're passionate, and you do what you want to do, and go after that. I got to the point where I just realized it just wasn't what I wanted to do, and I signed a 3-year contract 3 years ago, and days after I signed it, we found out that we were pregnant. So it was a point in my life when my priorities changed. My priorities shifted, because now I wasn't just a husband. I wasn't just a news employee. Now I was a father too. And to me, you decide your priorities. Do I want to move and make more money? Do I want to stick around in Hazard, Kentucky, and find something else? Do I want to something else that we'd asked earlier? What's something you want to let people who aren't in the business know about it? Look, there's not a lot of money. There's not a lot of money in TV news or news, especially in local markets. And if I had a dime for every time someone said, see me out, and I had a station gear or something, and we'd talk a little bit, and they said, well, that's why you make the big bucks. And I would love to tell them, well, no, that's not, couldn't be further from the truth. But I made the decision that I'm going to, I was going to, wanted to do something I was really passionate about. I love music, and I want to be a music teacher. So I'm going back to school to do that, and I'm going to be working in a school as a student mentor while I finish a portion of school that'll allow me to do that. And even I met some people in the education world that were like, well, I don't know that you want to do that. I don't know that you want to do that, because there's not a lot of jobs available. But as someone who has, been through the grind, working a lot of hours, doing stuff that I wasn't as much passionate about as I was when I started, I want to do something that I'm truly passionate about, and I can stick with it.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, TV news is doesn't offer a lot of work-life balance either. So like you were saying, your priorities changed. And for people with kids or people that have to deal with childcare, it's a really tough thing to try to work out. Would you say that's true?
It is. I am really, really, really blessed, and I can't put enough reallys before blessed. Just because I've got uh, uh, my daughter has grandparents on both sides that would watch her 24/7 and would fight to the death for the opportunity to to look after her a little more as she's over here. She's cooking on her stove we got her for her
Oh,
kitchen we got her for Christmas. But I'm really blessed with that. But man, I've seen a lot of folks in our newsroom that are well, not a lot because a lot of them are young, but I've seen some of them that really have a hard time finding, that balance. Sunday, Christmas Eve, I was talking. We were just talking. I was talking with some of the family about the about my decision, and I said, I came in and I sat my phone down at the counter, went into the living room. We had Christmas, and I never picked it up again. That's something that never could have happened. It never could have happened as a digital executive producer in years past, just because something's always going on. There's someone always needed my help, and it was never an option just to put the phone down and just kind of check out for a minute or two.
yeah, exactly. This is it, like someone else was saying, this is a very all-consuming career. Your schedule changes very last minute. It's very long hours, and it's tough. And there's a lot of burnout in this industry, and I can certainly see why. But thank you for sharing that. And so you are going to be working at a school, correct? And you're going back to school to be a music teacher. And that's funny you mentioned that, because I remember my first job was in El Paso, and there was a young reporter there. It was a guy, and his fiance was a teacher, and I remember him telling me, he's like, my fiance makes more money than I do. And he was actually, at that point, I think he'd gotten promoted to like weekend anchor. So even there, he was making less money than his fiance, who was a teacher. So like you were saying, the people in the education are probably like, oh, there's no money here. It's like, no, there's really no money here. And you see the big contract, you see like the Matt Lauers or like, the Anderson Coopers, and people just get this assumption that everyone's got that sort of deal. That's not at all the truth. But something that, some tough realities about TV news, right? And so you were mentioning you worked on the web a lot. What's your favorite social media platform?
My favorite social media platform, and it's one that some people don't even know exists. Something like
Ooh.
Reddit. I like Reddit. But,
I've just started getting more into Reddit. And it's one of those things. Reddit's kind of tough to figure out, like for me at least.
yeah, Reddit and Reddit is a place where if you're looking for viral content, look at what's working on Reddit. Look at what's working on Reddit, because that it naturally puts the things people vote up and down on different topics, and that moves it to the top of the moves it to the front page of the internet, which is what Reddit, it's the nickname, the front page of the internet. One of our most we some of our most viral stories got picked up on Reddit, and that's the biggest reason why they went viral, because someone posted it on Reddit, and now instead of just people in Eastern Kentucky that saw it on Facebook and shared it with their friends, now people all over the world, all over the country, all over the world were looking at it, voting it up, sharing it on their social media platforms, and that was really it's really a hub for viral content. But it's also you got to shoot the moon, because for every 100 posts you post on Reddit, 99 of them will be downvoted to eternity by a bunch of jerks.
Oh, the haters on the internet. And what subreddits are you normally found in?
Uh, I'm not. I don't stray too far. I do like Ask Reddit. That's my favorite one, probably, because they just ask anyone any questions, and people answer, and you get so many interesting answers, so many wild, just wild, crazy things. Ask Reddit. Hmm, and I really crawl the homepage. Whatever's going on there. Shower thoughts. I think that's pretty funny. I tell bad jokes a lot, so I do like the jokes subreddit because it's full of really bad jokes that I can tell at my leisure. But Ask Reddit's probably my favorite, and then the nerdy stuff, the Game of Thrones subreddit.
Oh,
I'll get there. Squared Circle, the wrestling subreddit. Different just things that are for things that are for whatever interest you have.
well, do you have any Reddit tips for people who are just starting out? Like, I'm kind of new to it, and I'm having a hard time like figuring this whole thing out.
I mean, the big. I'm not that great at it, but the best tips are just to join in on the conversation when you can. Uh, don't get caught up in trying to post. A lot of people want to post their links and want to post their own posts and see what happens with it. I find that most of my luck on Reddit comes with just joining in on the conversations that are there. And if you have something that can possibly be a good conversation fodder from some other folks, by all means, share that. But I usually just get in on it, vote up, uh, vote up for people that are doing productive things, and for the people that make all of our lives harder.
Then downvote them. Well, that's an interesting. This is the first Reddit I've gotten. I wonder how many people. You might be the only person to say Reddit, so that'll be interesting. That will be interesting. And so you just left the TV news business. What do you think TV stations can do to try to navigate this whole landscape of new media that's coming out?
Well, you just gotta you just have to understand the way people consume news now. I mentioned that when I first started, we had a few big stories that we wanted to hold until 6 o'clock for the news to break it on the news. That's not a good idea. You got to understand what makes money and go for that. What people are looking at and go for that. Look, with the analytics tools that are available out there, Google Analytics and whatever media content platform you're using, it tells you what people are looking at. You can see what stories are doing the best, and what stories people don't look at. And so often, we had we had a few big events every year that we would always put all these time and resources into, and nobody really looked at it. And to me, when you see that you've got team coverage, 2 and 3 reporters, you're doing live streams, live tweeting things to stuff that people don't really look at. I mean, find something else.
Yeah, maybe it's time to switch it up. If you're putting, I found that too. Like, there would be something you'd spend all this time and effort and resources on. If nobody's watching, then clearly there's not a market for it. And I mean, there is a difference between information people need to know and information people want to know. But at the same time, there's certain things I've done as a producer and a desk person that I'm like, is kind of more coming from the top, and then you do it and nobody cares. So that's a really good point. All right. So Nathan, I'm going to give you the opportunity now to ask everyone watching. You can ask the question of the day. You can ask people anything you want. So this is your own Ask Reddit.
All right. I mean, and I've kind of said this before, but guys, with whatever you're doing, do you love doing it? And is it what you want to do? And if not, find something that if not, find something that you're passionate about and go after it, because there's nothing more depressing than getting up every day and doing something that you wish you were doing something else, and find your priorities, where your priorities lie. If it's with your family, find something that gives you some time with your family. If you want to make money, find something that you can make some money with. And if you want to report the news, if you want to keep people informed, do that, and do it with don't hold back. Do it with all you got.
Fantastic question. Okay, so for everyone watching, if you want to answer Nathan's question in the comments, do you love what you're doing? Why or why not? And The sad thing is, I think a lot of people aren't. Like, I talk to so many people who they're doing this, but they'd rather be doing this. Or they work one job, but they've got like a side hustle and they want to do the side hustle, but they don't know how to get there. So great question. And Nathan, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of XTV Newsers. If you are also a fellow XTV Newser and you'd like to be featured, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I'm at XTV Producer. And you may get a chance to be right where Nathan is. So Nathan, thank you again.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.